Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. And I continue with Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York, blind. Now, last time I met with a Nosferatu Kaiser. I did quite poorly, but in the end he said he's going to contact me. So Kaiser's lackey is nowhere to be seen. You make your way to your own car and drive back, wondering what tomorrow brings. The hunger calls to you. A face on the streets of New York catches your eyes. You cannot look away. You were supposed to be doing something else, but what that was exactly doesn't matter now. Sheer beauty. A face. No, a person to die for. You follow them, get close enough to almost smell them, almost taste them. Yes, they must taste like heaven. You could ask them to share, or you could just take their blood. They wouldn't say no, right? Why would they do? You're their biggest admirer. So what if people are looking? What if the whole world learns what you are? It's worth it. You compose yourself, your rational mind, fearing a blatant breach of the masquerade's temporary hold of over the beast and its compulsions. It won't last until you feed. Unless you feed. You need to quench this hunger before your passion forces you over the edge. So I guess this is the warning that the game was supposed to give me when my hunger gets too high. So I definitely need to find an opportunity to feed, right? I could meet with D'Angelo or Hope again. Or I could meet with Agathon the Tremere for the first time. So I guess if I have the chance to meet them all, then I think I will. Just to get the hang of them. It's a kind of magic. Sophie's mention of a vampire clan of blood sorcerers sparked her attention. One of them, Agathon, would potentially be your introduction into the bizarre powers of the Tremere. Let's go meet him. As you arrive at the address given to you by Sophie, a small bookstore smack dab in the middle of Broadway of all places. What really catches you off guard, though, is the store's display. From what you've heard about the Tremere, they are infamous for their ties to the occult and the mystical. And yet now, looking at the oddball collection of the items on display in the window, it feels borderline satirical. The books here cover everything from Ayurvedic practices and homeopathy to wellness and self-motivation. The vaguely amusing juxtaposition don't end here either. You notice a copy of Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible tucked behind a cheap smiling Buddha. A scientific journal on hematology sits next to a teen-oriented pamphlet on blood-type personality theory. A number of religious and quasi-religious symbols, lockets, pins, and various emblazoned paraphernalia are haphazardly strewn across the display and between the tomes. Before you even open the door, you can smell the burning incense and hear the corny Far East tinged music seeping through the crackling speaker mounted above the entrance. It's much more quaint than what you expected when Sophie told you about the so-called warlocks. It doesn't look like they have much interest in impressing outsiders. Then again, if there's anything you've learned these past few nights, is that appearances can be deceiving. At this time of night, the shop appears to be closed. Regardless, you ring the bell. You hear someone shuffling inside. A brief moment later, the latch slides and the door is pushed open just a few inches. A tired-looking blonde in loose clothes appears in the crack. She seems confused, like you just woke her up. She lets out a yawn, stretching her tattooed neck. Finally, she squints in your general direction. Her pierced lip curves in an awkward smile. Got anything on vampires? Is Agathon in? I'm looking for a guy named Agathon. Is he around? The girl gives you a suspicious look over, but opens the door. She takes a few steps back, and you hear her footsteps coming from behind a floral curtain that covers the back door. A bespectacled, smart-looking woman emerges and looks straight at you. Come on and follow me. Just don't touch anything, please. You follow her through the store. Inside, as you expected, the stuffy air smells of sandalwood, frankincense, and a dozen other aromas. The woman leads you behind the curtain and through the back door onto a rickety staircase. A flight of steps takes you up a story. You instantly notice the change in decor as the tacky New Age bookstore gives way to something resembling a cross between a library and a workshop. The smell here is strong too, but much more layered. You're not sure what to make of it at first, but with each whiff it becomes apparent. It's blood. The aroma, though subtle at first, soon becomes overpowering. It takes you a moment to adapt and focus. I don't think you know who are you speaking with, so an introduction is in order. My name is Aisling Sturbridge, and I am the High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs. Oh, so she's Agathon's sire as well, right? You're Matt, correct? I have to say, you're lucky the ward outside the building is only there for notifications tonight. Otherwise, it would have been quite unpleasant. Answer to your question is, Agathon is here, but he's hard at work, and I wouldn't want to disturb him. Am I to understand this is a social visit? High Regent? Sounds important. High Regent of the Chantry of Five Boroughs. That's quite a mouthful. It might sound fancy, but that's because there's some well-established tradition behind it. One it would be wise not to ridicule. Some might take offense. Me, for one. Well, to be honest, I didn't intend it to come out in such a disparaging fashion. I imagined it was more of an inquiry, but the protagonist decided to turn it into a bit of a joke. What is it that you're here for? I heard good things about Agathon. Thought I'd drop by and see how much of it was true. Appealing to our vanity. How very original. You better step up your game, fledgling, or New York will eat you right up. Suddenly a man enters from a side room. He doesn't even look at you, lost in his own thoughts. I have it, Aisling. I think I know how to find it. He catches himself and notices you. His face turns sour. A visitor? Yes, we are just discussing you, in fact. Is that so? Let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I've been told you might be interested in teaming up. Teaming up? He seems very confused by the notion. What for? I could use your knowledge. I'm new here, and a scholar like yourself could teach me a lot, I imagine. You're not wrong. He turns to Aisling. High Regent, may I ask your advice on this? Aisling looks at you with nary a sign of emotion. I believe you have far more pressing matters to attend to at the moment, my child. That is my intuition as well, High Regent. It's settled then. I would kindly ask you to leave, fledgling. We have many matters to discuss. Matters not meant for undiscerning ears. Both of the warlocks look at you expectantly. Apologies for any inconvenience I might have caused you. Good luck with your work. You make your way downstairs as you pass the blonde, who seems now to be napping behind her desk. Agathon reappears behind you. Wait, come back for a minute. Somewhat confused, you follow him back to the workshop. Aisling is leaning against the wall, watching you both with a keen eye. Listen, I tend to work alone. I'm not used to socializing, but... He hesitates for a while. When he speaks again, it comes out as a mumble. I could use some help tonight. Would you be interested in teaming up? Why don't you start by giving our intern here a brief explanation of what it is you're after? Agathon gives Aisling a hesitant look, but the woman nods approvingly. Encouraged, he turns toward you. A member of our clan disappeared without a trace a handful of nights ago. While the High Regent investigates if any foul play was involved, I have been tasked with recovering his research notes, if there is anything left to recover, that is. I may have an idea where to start looking, and I suppose this is where you come in. If you truly wish to help, I could use your assistance tonight, right now in fact. Given the time we've just wasted on idle chatter, I should leave immediately. Who's the missing person? Who is she? A single glance at Aisling is enough. You can tell that you're not getting an answer, at least for now. You're after her research, that's what you should focus on. These people aren't in the habit of making things simple, layers upon layers of secrecy. You can only hope that what lies beneath is the real deal. I'm heading out, are you coming or not? Sure. I'll join you. Very well. He gives Aisling a slight bow. High Regent, with your permission? She nods. Before you go, however, Matt, defer to Agathon in all things. Our clan values obedience above everything else. Prove that you can follow, and this might turn into a mutually beneficial relationship. I will await his return and his report. Good luck, my child. Agathon bows again and heads out, urging you to follow. The High Regent watches you leave. Outside, Agathon leads you to his car. It's almost funny seeing him get behind the wheel. Somehow you'd expect a more mystical means of transportation. You drive south, heading to the lower east side. Agathon seems lost in thought. Either that or he is a very careful driver. Either way, several minutes pass in silence. So, where are we going? The High Regent is your sire? Is a stupid question because I already know that. Williamsburg. That's the place that our missing colleague frequented. He seems to be thinking of the right words before he decides to address you again. Let me ask you something. Why me? There's likely a couple hundred of us kindred in New York, yet you seek out me specifically. Why? Sophie spoke highly of you. For one, Sophie spoke highly of you. She gave me a short list of people to meet. You were on it. I see. Once more he grows silent. You're unsure whether to continue prying. As your driver seems to disappear into his thoughts, you drive into Williamsburg and stop by a fancy-looking building. You're here. That's the restaurant on the top floor. You wanted to help, so here's your chance. I need you to get us inside using the VIP lobby. Once we're in, I need about half an hour to focus and some space. It'll be up to you to keep attention away from the room. Can you do it? Well, to be honest, I kind of doubt it, because with the amount of hunger, I probably will be unable to use the disciplines. But I guess we'll see. He doesn't wait for an answer and points to the front door. Go ahead, I am right behind you. The two of you take the elevator to the restaurant. The door opens, and you see that there are only a few guests left, sitting at the table. An important-looking staff member approaches you. Good evening. I'm very sorry, but the restaurant is closing for the night. I can make a reservation for next week if you wish. What does it even mean that we're location scouting exactly? I guess he said about the VIP lobby, so I'm supposed to pretend that I am some kind of a VIP, right? I am the special kind of client. I think we can get in now. We're special clients, if you know what I mean. I don't think I do. Apologies, but it's company policy. No exceptions. Would you like to make a reservation? It's fine, we can come in. Hey, it's all good. We can come in. We'll be in the VIP lobby. It won't take long. The man blinks. A confused smile appears on his face. Yes, of course, not a problem. Please come right in. You walk in, trying your best to look casual, and make your way towards the VIP lobby. You step inside and close the doors behind you. It's a nice place, very highbrow. Lots of old, expensive-looking furniture and private rooms to discuss any sordid business one discusses when you're that rich. Your companion looks at you with something akin to admiration, or at least that's how you choose to interpret the slight change in his usual somber facade. Not bad at all. He inspects the room. It's unusually cold, and Agathon soon discovers why. Looking behind the curtain, a window hangs open. The handle and lock look like they've been dissolved, as if with acid. God damn it, Juno. What's with the window? What happened to the window? Somebody broke in. I think I know who. He takes a frantic look around the room. This changes things. Keep an eye out on the door. I need some time, half an hour at the very least. Nobody disturbs me, understand? He hastily pushes a couch and some potted plants out of the way, moves a bar stool, and takes a carved knife. Cutting it into his own arm, he lets a few drops of his blood drip into the wooden floor. It's pretty fucked up, the way his flesh oozes with deep red, thick vitae. In life, you would have found it stomach-churning, but right now you feel weirdly weirdly turned on by the sight. What follows is more disturbing yet. With one hand, he seizes the knife that seals the wound. With the other, he smears the blood around him while muttering some weird chant. It sounds vaguely Latin, but you're pretty sure it isn't. It's all more than a little disconcerting, but he seems to know what he's doing. A few moments later, the circle starts glowing faintly as thin wisps of smoke surround Agathon. He sits down in the middle, legs crossed, eyes closed. Minutes pass. Agathon's face twitches from time to time, and his head turns every now and then, as if he was looking around or listening in on a conversation. The smoke grows thicker, forming a veil around the mage. You expected something more flashy, but it's still a sight to behold. You wonder what's the point of it, but refrain from asking. It's probably best to let Agathon do his thing. For close to 30 minutes, you are left to your own devices. Then suddenly the door opens slightly, and the manager leans into the room. You tense up for a second, but he just gives you an awkward smile. Anything you need? You shoo him away before he can take a closer look at your companion, and he retreats obediently. 2 minutes later, Agathon casually gets up from the floor and walks over to the sofa. He pushes his hand between the cracks in the upholstery and fishes something out. Then he turns to you and nods. We're done here. Let's go. You make your way back to the elevator, passing the manager on your way. He gives you a slight, somewhat confused smile, but neither him nor any of his staff get in your way. Despite that, the elevator right down feels tense, as the two of you only relax once inside Agathon's car. He starts the engine and takes a right at the Continental Army Plaza, back onto the bridge. You're just about to say something, but he beats you to it. That went better than I expected, all things considered. It might have been a trick of the light, but you're pretty sure you saw a smile. I'm used to working alone, but what I'm dealing with right now, it might require some more assistance, and you seem capable enough. Found what you came for? I'm guessing you found what you came for. Sort of. Enough to continue the search at any rate. That seems to deplete his social battery for the night. You drive the rest of the way in silence. It doesn't take long to reach the Warlock's hideout. Agathon waves at you absent-mindedly, once again lost in thoughts, hopelessly so. One of these nights, you should probably take him up on his offer. Who knows, if you gain his trust, maybe you can actually break through his stoic facade and meet the man underneath. Okay, so I can meet with some of them again. Oh, actually I need to rest. Or I can meet with Tamika, I guess, if I want. But first I need to rest. You're walking down the streets towards your haven. In some other town, the sidewalks would be deserted at this time of night. In NYC, there are plenty of passerbys going about their business. It's easy to be paranoid when you're a vampire surrounded by a crowd of humans. The kindreds have many enemies, and all those enemies have one trait in common. They are invisible, indistinguishable from normal humanity. Other vampires, hunters, all look like people. Is that old man just a tired restaurant worker, or a kindred thrall tailing your movements? Are the officers idly waiting in patrol car ordinary cops, or Second Inquisition specialists looking to end undead threats? This kind of thinking leads to madness, but you can't shake the feeling that someone is watching you. It's not the first time you felt like this. Following the queue of so many mortals around you, you stop at the street corner to casually survey your surroundings, as if you were trying to remember which turn to take. You look around ostensibly at street signs, but in reality to see if someone is really following you. Down at the street where you came from, a crowd of drunk young men argue loudly about baseball. There's an indistinct figure standing behind them, almost impossible to notice. A woman, probably. The men unconsciously move around her as they start to walk away, still mouthing off at each other. Whatever this is, it's probably something you have to take care of. Best case, someone is tailing you. Worst case, you'll be attacked and killed. Unfortunately, being undead has its limitation. The sun is coming up soon, and you'll burn to a crisp if you stay on the streets. You reach your haven and settle in for the day, disconcerted by the idea that someone might know where you sleep. The plan was to return to your haven for the day. The sun is coming up soon, after all, but that's not what the beast has in store for you. Oh, so I guess I'm too hungry and I'm going to kill someone, because I need to feed. The feeling of emptiness, the overwhelming famishment that takes hold of you cannot be denied or bargained with. The time when you could reason with your thirst is over. You don't remember how it happens exactly, but you find yourself in an alleyway, sucking the last drops of blood from a savage gash in a corpse's neck. You have killed somebody tonight, and did it very close to your haven. Any attempt at covering the poor soul's death becomes secondary when you realize that the dull glow over the city in the east is the sun coming up. You barely make it back to your haven in time. You realize that your clothes are in a mess, torn in places, covered in blood, your victim's blood. How many people saw you get in the building? You don't know. It was a panicked sprint to escape the light, instinct saving your skin. The same instinct that decided it was time to feed the beast. You cannot let this happen again. You cannot ignore the hunger for so long as you did before tonight. Your humanity depends on it. Okay? A As you wake from your slumber and emerge from your haven for the night, you notice a familiar face on the side of the street, standing on the corner and looking straight at you. It's Kaiser's lackey whom you met recently, Jackie. He nods to you, encouraging you to approach. He still looks kind of rough after your last brawl, but the damage to his face has clearly mended. His hands are out of his pockets, though. A sign of goodwill? That's close enough. Kaiser sent you. This is not a social visit. Don't say his name out loud, idiot. He takes a look around, just to make sure nobody is listening on to your conversation. Yeah, probably that was pretty stupid of me. In my defense, it is pretty late when I'm playing this. I might not be entirely rational at this point of night. Yeah, he sent me. I'm supposed to give you this. He produces a crumpled piece of paper from his jacket pocket and hands it to you. Read it, memorize it, and give it back here. It's a letter. The paper might just be a page ripped out of a spiral notebook, but the writing is as exquisitely detailed and deliberate. It reads, "Time to square your debt to me. Go to the wine shop at 232 Mulberry Street and ask for the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro. When they tell you that they don't have it, say that you are a Fidel Servitor de la Familia G. Those exact fucking words, and make sure you get the G right." So that's Italian, right? It means something along the lines of you're a faithful servant of the family G, of the G family, or something like that. Which, incidentally, I only guess at, not because I know anything in Italian itself. It's because I know a bit of Latin, and obviously it's quite similar. It's quite similar with some words. For example, fidelis is faithful in Latin, and servitor is a servant, is a slave. So there's that. You'll get the bottle. Just take it and leave by saying grazie. Don't ask how much is it or anything else. Just walk out. When you have it, come back to the Jackie boy here and let him know. You're done? Memorize all of that. Memorize that shit and hand it over. Well, to be honest, I already kind of forgot. It's 1821 Special Reserve, but if the options presented to me are very similar, I'm probably going to mess it up. Maybe if it was a little bit earlier in the day, I would have fared better. What's the rush, buddy? I don't see what the rush is. Hey, it's your funeral. I can stand here all night and even enjoy a nice sunrise while I'm at it. Not a luxury you have. Just hand me back the letter once you're done. You note the phrases and the address mentioned in the letter, and then hand it back. He immediately reaches for a lighter and burns the letter, putting out the ashes with his boot. So yeah, when you do what the boss asks, come back here and I can tell you where to go next. I'll be in that alley over there, so find me when you have the item, whatever it is. I don't know, and the boss made it extra clear that I shouldn't care, so I don't. See ya. He shuffles away and leaves you to pursue the lead from the letter. Time to pay a visit to Nolita. You arrive at the address mentioned in the note, but counting local restaurant patrons, the street is mostly empty at this time of night, but curiously, the wine shop is still open. Inside, a small middle-aged woman with curly hair is standing behind the counter in front of a wall filled with wine bottles. There's a door at the back of the room with a small table and a chair occupied by a man in a black faux-leather jacket with slick combed-back hair. He's reading a newspaper, but pauses as a little bell rings when you open the door. He takes a sip from a small steaming cup and gets back to his broadsheet. Good evening, how can I help you? Be direct. I need a... But basically he just said I need to tell them that I need a particular bottle of wine, and then say something about being a faithful servant, and then leave. So that there's no point in saying anything else, I believe. Oh, I guess my character memorized it for me, which is nice of him, because I might have messed it up if it presented options that were very similar to each other, which was kind of what I was expecting. I would like a bottle of the 1821 Special Reserve Donatello Negro Amaro, please. Let me check our stock. She seems to be looking through a database on the laptop looking on the counter. She puts on a polite smile. I'm afraid we don't have that one at the moment. Sorry. Recitate the phrase straight and simple. I am a fidel servitor de la familia G. Ah, in that case, let me see if we have any in the back. Wait here, please. The woman leaves the counter and goes through the door in the back. The man by the table puts down his newspaper and takes another sip from the cup, washing it down with a gulp of water from the nearby glass. He tries to hide it, but there's no doubt he's watching you. About a minute passes. I'm going to just wait. Chatting him up is probably even more conspicuous, kind of. You remind yourself of what Kaiser wrote in the letter and keep quiet, patiently waiting for the woman to return from the back of the store. The man finishes his drink and starts doodling on the newspaper, his eyes darting to you every so often. Is he drawing me, like for later, to have a reference or something? The doors to the back store open, and the proprietor emerges with a small, unlabeled, squat bottle of crimson liquid. She gives you an apologetic smile. Excuse me, sorry for taking so long. Turns out we did have it. She offers you the bottle, and you reach out to grab it, but she retracts it. You don't know what this is, don't you? I don't think I need to waste presents on this. She was supposed to give it to me if I say the right words, right? I was supposed to answer with grazie, which is thank you in Italian. So I don't think I'm going to use presents just on this. Why, it's wine, of course. It's wine, surely. Of course, the best kind of wine. Enjoy. She winks at you. Deciding you pushed your luck far enough, you nod and exit the store, and take a brisk walk to your car. No one follows you as you leave Nolita and drive back to your apartment, but I was supposed to answer with grazie specifically, and I didn't. But it didn't give me the option to? It takes you some time to find a parking spot, but you finally get out of the car and start looking for Jackie. He's not far from where you parted ways just under 2 hours ago. Got the goods? Sure. Cool, stand by, gotta make the call. He takes a few steps into the narrow space between the two buildings and takes out the same high-tech phone you saw him carrying last time. Hey boss, yeah, they have it. Where do I point them to? Okay, I'll tell them to go there right away. He puts the phone back in his pocket and turns back to you. Willet's Point, half an hour, so you better step on it. See you around. With only a flippant salute, Jackie starts walking down the street. You make your way back to your car and drive. You had to push the speed limit to make it on time, but you're here. Willet's Point is quite a change of scenery. The place is a post-industrial dump, the nearby stadium notwithstanding. You stop your car once you realize that if you go any further, the potholes will kill your chassis. You step out into one of those gashes in the asphalt, splashing in the ankle-deep water. Kaiser's limo is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the whole place is pretty much deserted, other than the apparent proprietor of the lonely bar, a middle-aged woman who's just locking the place up. Sure, I am going to feed. Although, to be honest, like, is it... Because Sophie mentioned something, and obviously that's the way it works in the tabletop as well. You shouldn't overindulge, and I don't know if my hunger has already decreased since I killed that person, because there is no clear indicator of it, but let's feed just in case and see what happens. If the game will like clearly admonish me for it in some way, maybe by describing how my beast takes over because I've overindulged in blood, then that would be an interesting experience in its own right. This is too perfect of an opportunity not to take an advantage of. She's walking to her car, ready to call it a night when you sneak up on her. She's far too tired to resist your strong and swift bite. You can taste the caffeine in her veins, smell the cheap cigarettes in her hair, the old cooking grease in her clothes. As she passes out, you assault the closing note of a long day at work. You let her down gently, and feel a pang of remorse. You pick up the car keys she dropped and place her in the driver's seat. She'll find an explanation for passing out like this for sure. And the bright lights of a car pulling over down the road illuminate you as you close the door. It's a black limo. Kaiser is finally here, it would seem. Same as the last time. The car door open and nobody comes out. You know the drill. This time, Kaiser is visible when you look inside. You sit down and close the door behind you. So, you pulled it off without a hitch then. Give it here. Hand the bottle over to the Nosferatu. He uncorks it gently, takes a whiff, and then puts the cork back in. Yeah, that's the stuff. I can see you're useful beyond your charm. With the subtlety of a battering ram. Good to know. Here's Langley's precious address. He passes you an envelope with what feels like a thick card inside. Thank you. Mr. Kaiser? Yeah, I'll send Jackie over if I ever need anything else from you. How about that? Time for you to get out now. He waves you out of the car. With the envelope in your hand, you get out, back onto the torn asphalt in decrepit surroundings. The limo slowly drives away. Finally, you can return to Sophie and bring her what she wanted. Gregory lets you in. You hear a shrill, unpleasant laugh, and realize Sophie's having a guest over. He's the man from the Elysium, the one with the glasses and the good taste in suits. You didn't have the chance to talk with him the last time you saw him. Ah, Matt, good to see you. Tell me, did two of you previously meet? The man doesn't wait for you to answer. He approaches you with an energetic, almost dance-like step and puts out his hand. Thomas Arturo, I've heard about you. A pleasure. Thomas is a great sort of gossip and an excellent conversationalist. I also have the prince's ear, which is the primary reason dear Miss Langley wished to speak to me tonight. Good gossip, even coming from me, isn't nearly as valued. Sad. Sophie is taken aback by the man's direct comment, but smiles politely. The awkward atmosphere is broken again by the guest's grating laugh. I kid, of course, I kid. Well, I was about to leave anyway, so I leave the two of you to it. Good night, Sophie, Matt, Ray boy. Sophie's driver opens the door for Arturo, and the guest steps out with a single wave of a hand towards his host and you. The doors close. What's his deal? Same as everyone. Position, power, influence. Thomas has clout in court and access to many juicy details, from the prince to the lowliest primogen. It's useful to have him on your side, even if his eccentricity requires some patience. Speaking of patience, you have been putting mine to the test lately. Did you manage to contact Kaiser and acquire what I asked for? Yes, but I had to do another job for him first. I feel like explaining this might... Like, I'm not me... well, I guess I wonder how my character will exactly put it, but the way I see it, it's more of an explanation of why it took so long than that it is like complaints or something. Because she would probably not appreciate if I complained about having to do something for her. I have it, but the data you offered was old news to him. I had to do another job for him before he would give me this card. She retrieves the envelope from you. I'm sure he did. I hope it wasn't too much of an inconvenience. I had to retrieve a bottle for him. He made me go on a separate escapade to retrieve a bottle of wine from a store in Nolita. I had to use code phrases and whatnot. Wine shop. Code phrases? That degenerate pest. She's visibly agitated, but calms down and smiles at you. Don't worry about it. I'll make sure that whatever Kaiser had you do, it will blow over. She opens the envelope and looks at the card. You notice the same lettering you saw on Kaiser's note before, but can't see the details. Her eyes widen. Excellent. I need to call in some favors. I will likely be busy for the next few nights. You have my permission to show some initiative, my dear Charge. I will contact you soon. With that, Sophie ushers outside, and you are left to do with the rest of this night hours as you like. Okay, so apparently there's some new choice here. Somebody is watching me. Ah, that's someone that was following me, right? I guess it's wise to confront them. I can also meet the other ones again, or meet Tamika for the first time. So maybe I can have them all in my coterie. I might talk with Tamika just to get the hang of her personality, but I feel like confronting the person that has been following me is probably the most urgent, because after all, I might not, I might not catch him again later. I might not have an opportunity to confront him. So I think I'm going to do that, but regardless of what I choose, I'm going to do it next time, because this episode has been long enough, so I'm going to end it for now. That's all for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!